Welcome to your deep dive. Today we're diving into the world of electric motorcycles.
Motorcycles in India, to be precise.
Right. With the launch of this new Revolt RV1.
It's a pretty big deal, at least from the marketing they've been putting out.
Yeah, we've got a whole stack of that right here. Plus the spec sheet, even a speech from some government official.
We'll see if he's just giving them the standard blessing or if he really digs into it.
He got surprisingly philosophical, actually, but more on that later. First, this RV1.
It really feels like more than just another motorcycle launch.
Right. It's like Revolt is plugging into something bigger happening in India.
There's this huge unmet need, right? Clean transportation that's actually affordable. And with the pollution in these cities.
Yeah, it's tough. Okay, so what is Revolt? Give us the quick backstory for anyone who hasn't encountered them before.
So they're not brand new. They actually popped up back in 2017.
Okay, so they've been around the block a bit.
Yeah, their first bike came out in 2019, and now they're talking about going international even. So they're not messing around.
Ambitious. And they keep pushing this stat, 54 crore kilometers driven on their bikes so far. What does that even mean?
I had to look it up, but that's like, imagine someone circling the Earth over 13,000 times on one of these bikes.
So basically a lot of riding, which means...
A lot less petrol burned. They're saying 200 crore rupees saved in fuel costs, like planting a small forest.
Okay, those environmental comparisons are always a bit,
Yeah, definitely simplifying things. But still, it gives you a sense of the scale and the savings, which matters to most people, let's be honest.
Speaking of what matters, this bike's got a payload of 250 kilograms. That's incredible for a commuter bike.
Most of them top out around 150, so that extra 100.
Huge. Makes it actually useful for everyday stuff, like taking your family somewhere, or just hauling groceries without looking ridiculous.
And the wider tires, smart move for those potholes. They're really going for practicality here.
And the safety angle, too. They made a big deal about having disc brakes.
Which is not always a given at this price point, by the way. You usually get those old drum brakes.
Which are fine until they overheat, right?
Exactly. Disc brakes are just more reliable, more stopping power. Important when you've got that heavier load. Kids, groceries, whatever.
And did we mention this thing has reverse? Reverse on a motorcycle.
Game changer, especially if you're stuck trying to maneuver in tight spaces.
Parking in India, it's a contact sport sometimes.
This makes it so much easier. Okay, so two versions of the RV1 standard does 100 kilometers on a charge. The Plus gets you 160.
So city riding versus...
Yeah, longer commutes. Or if you want that peace of mind, knowing you're not going to get stranded.
Range anxiety is real. But, okay, the real kicker here, the price, 84,999 rupees. That's aggressive.
They're undercutting pretty much everyone. Their whole pitch is, yeah, it costs more up front, but...
Over the life of the bike with petrol prices...
You actually come out ahead, way ahead, if their numbers are right. They're claiming the petrol equivalent would cost you, get this, 3.15 lakh over the same lifespan.
Versus less than 1 lakh for the RV1. I mean, that's a big difference.
They're making a compelling argument, that's for sure. Appealing to your wallet and your conscience.
Right, because it's not just about saving money. It's
about the environment, which is where that government official speech comes in.
It's interesting, though, because even with all this hype, they're not, home free, growing this fast. That's got to come with challenges.
Huge ones. I mean, can they actually scale up production without, quality taking a nosedive?
Yeah, and they're really out there with that whole zero fire incidents thing, which, I get it, people are nervous about those batteries.
Smart to address it head on, especially with them pushing these top-tier components so hard. But it's not just about what rolls off the assembly line, right?
Right, because they're also talking about 500 dealerships in the next few years. That's a lot.
It's massive. And expanding to Sri Lanka, too, they said. That kind of growth, you got to wonder about, can they keep up with training? Support.
That's where things fall apart, right? When the customer service can't keep up.
Exactly. And if they want to be a global brand, which it seems like they do, that's got to be nailed down. Okay, but let's get back to this bike. We talked payload, but what else makes it, actually good for the daily grind?
Besides the tires, which we mentioned, were wider.
They're really playing up that family-friendly angle, comfortable seating, that kind of thing. Even just having a decent LCD display at 6 inches, so... pretty standard, but still.
And the reverse, obviously. Can't emphasize that enough.
Seriously, that changes everything. But 100 kilometers range, 160 for the Plus. Is that enough?
You're most people, most days, probably. Especially if you're just doing the city commute.
Yeah, that's their target for sure. And then the Plus is if you need that extra, to get out of town on the weekend.
Or just peace of mind. We have to talk about the price again, though, because $84,999. That's just such a different ballpark.
It really is. They're betting on people really doing the math.
Because, yeah, upfront it's more, but
Long term, with fuel savings and all that, they're saying it's way cheaper.
way cheaper if they're right about the petrol bike costing, what was it, 3.15 lakh over its life?
Yeah, versus under 1 lakh for this. It's a big if, but still.
Yeah.
They're not just hitting the wallet, though, right?
Right. It's also that whole I'm doing my part for the environment thing.
Which is smart, tapping into that.
Yeah.
And that's where, the government guy's speech, it was interesting.
So it's almost like they're not just selling a bike, they're selling a whole, vision of the future.
That's what makes this launch so fascinating. It goes beyond just, new model year updated specs.
Right. It's like, is this the tipping point for electric in India?
That's the big question, isn't it? A
Yeah.
revolution might be a bit strong, but it could be a turning point.
Because for once, it feels like all the pieces are there.
Exactly. You've got the environmental concerns,
Yeah.
the need for affordable transport, and now with this price.
$84,999 is just unheard of for an electric.
It's seriously disruptive. And if it works, if they can actually make enough of them, and they hold up.
That's a lot of ifs.
It is. But if it works, it forces the other companies to, step up their game.
So this one launch could actually change the whole market.
Potentially, yeah. It's like throwing down a challenge.
Beat this.
Exactly. And competition's good, right? Drives innovation, hopefully prices too. Everyone wins, including the people buying these bikes.
Assuming they can get their hands on one. But it's not just about the manufacturers, is it? I mean, what about the infrastructure, charging stations, all that?
That's the other side of the coin. You can't have all these electric vehicles without somewhere to plug them in.
And right now, India's not exactly.
Covered in charging stations.
Yeah.
No, not even close. So that needs to catch up big time. And then there's the consumer side.
Because people are used to, pull up to a petrol pump, 5 minutes later, you're on your way.
Right. Range anxiety is a real thing.
Yeah.
And until charging is as easy as ubiquitous as filling up with petrol.
It's going to be a barrier for some people. Okay, so what needs to happen for all this potential to actually
Become reality. Well, companies like Revolt have to deliver. And not just on hype. The bikes have to work, they have to be affordable, and they have to last.
And on the other side.
Government needs to keep pushing those policies. Incentives for buyers, investing in that charging infrastructure we were talking about.
The government official in that speech, he seemed on board.
Words are easy, though, right? It's the actions that count. So we'll see if this launches enough to, really get them moving on that.
Okay, so big picture. Exciting times, a lot of potential, but it's not a done deal by any stretch.
Not at all. But that's what makes it so fascinating to watch. This whole electric vehicle thing, it's like we're seeing the future being written right now.
And who knows what the next chapter holds. But we want to hear from you. What do you think about all this? Is the RV1 the game changer it claims to be? Or is Revolt getting ahead of itself? Head over to our website, find us on social media, let us know what you think. Because we just scratched the surface here. Now it's your turn to dive in. And until next time, thanks for listening.
If this tech tutorial was helpful, please like this video and subscribe to our channel. For more detail you can visit our blog website www.evergreentechtips.com.